Hi, I'm Omar.
And I'm Mia.
I'm Nika.
And we just did a vlog over at Geek and Sundry Vlogs with us and Nika talking about writing and tips for writers who maybe don't have a lot of money. And we're going to talk some more right now.
Yeah.
Over Mimosa.
Over Mimosa.
The way that we should. It's a wonderful Sunday, you know.
It's a Sunday morning.
Happy Sunday, guys.
Happy Oscars Day.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Because I don't consume media, like, ever.
Well, this will be, like, in the future, too, so they'll already know who
I know.
won, and so we'll be even more behind.
Yeah.
No, I saw one movie this year. I saw Gravity.
I didn't even see that one.
It's probably going to sweep it.
It wasn't bad, but I did like bringing this back into a writing thing. As we're talking about Gravity, that movie, I don't know much about screenwriting, but I will say that I'm seeing a lot of really, really interesting narrative and creative things to do with a very small cast of people. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing this in games a lot too.
Yeah.
Because it cuts down on so many of the other scenes and the other things that you're working with when you're just speaking for essentially one person and going through their entire story. You don't have a huge cast. You don't have to worry about these, other character models or whether or not they're pathing correctly. You're exploring a house or you're in space with this chick. It's really fascinating to see.
And then in that genre, or in that medium, it's really good to, like, keep it isolated if you have low budge.
Yeah.
That's why they always ask for, like, horror movies that are found footage, and you're like, you're in a cabin in the woods. It's like,
you're stuck in this one-bedroom apartment.
We rented this space.
I actually think that video games writing and screenwriting are very similar in that regard, because there's the same amount of effort given to, well, we have to shoot on location, or we have to create a location of which you can, interact with. So it's really fascinating to see kind of the limitations of that and how people branch out.
Yeah, I guess I never like linked film writing and video game writing as much, but now I think about it, like, you're dealing with a frame, right? Like, you're writing to a frame. You have, like, core characters that you're going to be, like, sort of immersing in, maybe for an ongoing franchise.
Well, like, a video game is a story. Even if it's, like, Angry Birds, it's a story.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And it doesn't require a story, but people kind of tack that on, like, oh, well, you hate pigs.
Yeah,
pigs
that's the story.
With these birds. So there is an element of story to it, but as you get into some of the more, especially the most narrative types of those games, then you definitely see a lot of those parallels. In fact, you use actual, like, screenwriting software for a lot of this. The dialogue trees are only different in the fact that they can go different ways.
Right.
So it is a script in many ways, but then, well, what if you say this thing, or what if you don't? And what
something
like
Fable's Wolf Among Us is like a choose your own ending.
Well, that's like a definitely story heavy.
Yeah.
Such a good game.
In fact, the most interesting thing about that, I used to work at Telltale Games, and I think that it's phenomenal, right? Like, they do such good work. Most of the people who actually work with them on a lot of their kind of storytelling do have a background in film. So they went for film design or creativity. Like, they didn't go for games design, as it may be. The designers themselves did. But they actually have a thing called choreographers, where they have a camera and they have a scene in Maya, and they kind of, like, zoom on through, and they're setting up the shots, here's this angle, here's this thing. And I'm not sure if there's that in any other company, but very specifically, they are directing the episode. That's why there is a director, and the director of that episode is literally, it's filming.
I always connected, like, video games and screenwriting. I guess, like, that makes sense, but I've been always really curious, not to dominate about video game writing, but I'm really curious about it, because, like, how a writer functions on a video game, how it works with, like, the actions and the interactivity versus, like, obviously cutscenes would be, like, write a cutscene.
Yeah.
But what about do you know anything about that?
It really depends on the type of game that you're creating.
Yeah.
I mean, again, some of them are just timing when a voiceover thing happens or such like that. Some of them don't really have any kind of story writing to go with it. Some of them are very lore heavy, especially if you're playing MMOs. They're not going to voice over. It's not dialogue then, is it? What are they doing? Are they talking to, like, you're going to be reading this entire thing of quest and information and lore. So there are different types of writing that you're going to be doing. What's that thing called? Storyboarding. A lot of storyboarding.
Aha,
okay,
yes.
it's like story development.
I'm in a storyboarding class right now. I was like, yes, money well spent.
I want to do that because it seems like that has so much crossover with comics.
The crossover of skills is, like, insane. You have to know so many things.
You have to visualize things and then just, like, cut to them.
How actions are following through, how you're transitioning from location to location.
You can't just, like, have the black screen kind of silent film, like, you know,
Yeah.
at the saloon kind of moment, right?
Or you could.
Or you could if that's what you're going for, but if not, it'd just be awkward.
If you're playing like Bioshock Infinite, literally you would have to have that silent film screen because it's integrated in the story. But
Exactly.
anything outside Bioshock Infinite, you probably aren't going to have that.
And that can work for certain things. That's the other thing about like creativity in general, is you can either do something poorly and that becomes your shtick, or you can do something and it becomes a stylistic choice. I certainly have my own quirks with any of the writing that I do. You can probably tell, I wouldn't know, but you can probably tell when I'm writing something. And, you know, you can kind of focus on it and say, oh, this is definitely a Nika style of writing.
Well, it's like all about finding your voice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That way, if you find your voice and it's unique, you can put yourself out there. Somebody will eventually really want that
Yeah.
voice.
Learn the rules and then break them.
Learning what your rules are rather than just being like reactionary or just following a path of like, well, Robert McKee said I should write a screenplay this way, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and you can, just to see how that is. Like, I do that a lot. I kind of test myself with a lot of those things where it's, they say to do it this way, I don't agree, but I want to learn how to write this thing this way. It's a very personal thing to write something. And the other thing is, okay, in English class, did you ever have to go, and they're just like, okay,
I know where this is going.
here's a
It's great.
5-paragraph essay.
Yeah.
Here's how you write a thing, right?
The chunk system, right?
Yeah, here's how you learn. Here's how you do
chunks?
this. Okay, now read the Scarlet Letter, where they have a run-on sentence that goes for a page and a half.
Right, read Faulkner. This is good, but don't write like it.
But don't write like it. Don't do it. Here's the stuff in your toolbox. That's great, but they don't teach you how to build a fucking house. Can I curse?
Yeah.
Great.
We'll bleep if we want, but I don't know if we will bleep.
I don't
it,
even
really.
care.
I think we need to.
In English class, I got knocked off a lot of points because my style was very conversational. And then, like, 6 years later, I get a job doing conversational writing on the internet, which wasn't barely even a thing back then. So it's like, it goes to show that if you have a strength, don't downplay it. Just know when to apply it.
I mean, I don't know if English class is always geared towards encouraging creative writing as much as it should. It's, you know, a lot, sometimes it's analytical, and I know there's like that Bloom's taxonomy thing.
And those are actually good things to have.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
and you need
right?
them. And you need
Yeah.
them.
Learn them apostrophes. Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Learn them apostrophe.
Learn them.
There's one specific apostrophe problem I have,
which
which
is?
is a store in San Luis Obispo that's Let's Party,
Oh, let's
but
party.
it's not Let Us Party because there's no
There's
apostrophe.
no
It's
apostrophe.
Let's Party. And it just drives me insane. I think a really important thing to keep in mind for like writers at any stage, I guess, is to know that like there's not a right answer, and that you're never going to get to a goal or a place, because it's always like, if that worked for you, now you have to try something completely new. Like, I know in improv we have this thing where we freak out where we try a new technique and we get really good at it, and then we get bored and we try something else and we're like, we're bad at improv. But it's not, because you're trying something new and you're putting more tools in your toolbox. And
Always. So long as you know what you want to be doing, if you want to do nothing but write like mystery novels, go write mystery novels.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt you to expand, try, figure out if you do like something, or even if you're bad at it. If you enjoy it, then keep going in that direction. But don't be afraid to be bad at something. That's how you grow.
So, as you can see, we talked a lot about this. In fact, there's another part, so go ahead and click on the annotation right here to flip over to the next part and hear more of us.